Black queer musical culture has always been here. Before it was named, before it was studied, before it was protected, before it was marketable, it was already moving through gospel chords, blues lyrics, ballroom floors, house parties, church pews, club stages, family secrets, whispered codes, and chosen families. Some of it was celebrated, some of it was hidden, some of it was punished. Some of it was borrowed without credit, and far too much of it was never written down. Rainbow Soul is neither a traditional music history text nor a conventional memoir. It's a memoir-driven exploration of Black queer sound informed by published research, cultural criticism, and lived experience. Throughout these pages, I move between student of the archive and participant in the culture. Not to claim the final word, but to trace the lineage that helped make me possible. Also, as I reflect on Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 through 16, where the rainbow appears as a sign of covenant, remembrance, and promise, I admit that my faith is amplified in these pages. The rainbow for me is not only a symbol of pride, it is also a symbol of survival, mercy, life after the storm, and divine memory. Still, I do not require the reader to share my faith in order to enter this book. I am deeply conscious of church hurt, especially the wounds carried by Black queer people who were told that the very soul God gave them was somehow a problem to be solved. I do not write to reopen those wounds or to force belief onto anyone. I write from my own spiritual center while making room for those who are still healing, still questioning, still angry, still searching, or simply standing somewhere else. In that way, Rainbow Soul is not an argument for one way of being. It is an offering. It is a testimony that Black queer life can hold contradiction, beauty, grief, divinity, desire, memory, and power, all at once. Writing Rainbow Soul has been quite the journey. It required me to revisit chapters of my life I once buried. Childhood pain, identity crises, and traumas I survived not just as a Black boy, but as a Black queer one growing up in a world that rarely made space for either, and certainly not both at the same time. It also forced me to ask some tough questions. Why me? Why now? Why should my story be part of the legacy of Black queer music, a narrative that could arguably and easily be told without me? The truth is, this story should not be told without me or you or any of us. Not because I'm the center of Black queer musical history, but because I am part of its inheritance. That is why this book matters to me. I'm writing as an artist, yes, but also as a witness, a participant, and a cultural worker who has lived close enough to this legacy to know that it cannot be reduced to only the names history has already approved. Some of the artists and voices in these pages are legends. Some are peers. Some are people I've performed beside, organized with, learned from, or watched carry entire rooms without ever receiving the recognition they deserved. Some may be appearing in a book for the first time here. In a moment when Black queer artists may have more visibility than ever, we cannot mistake visibility for security. Exposure can disappear, rights can be rolled back, archives can remain incomplete. Culture wars can turn today's celebration into tomorrow's silence. So this book is not just an act of remembrance. It is an act of witness. It is a way of saying that our stories matter because they are part of the record, part of the rhythm, and part of the inheritance. We're living in a time when the very act of studying Black history is under threat. Add queerness into the mix and you're left with a field that's not just marginalized, but often erased. Even within existing works that do honor Black or queer history, the contributions of musicians and performers, especially those who defy heteronormative standards, are often sidelined. We uplift writers and political leaders, as we should, but we forget the artists who sang our liberation into being, who danced it into public consciousness, who rapped it into a mic when no one else was listening. There are legacies we may never fully connect with because of homophobia, both externalized and internalized. How many voices were silenced before they ever had the chance to record? How many stories died in the closet, unspoken because the world refused to hear them? And how many more were lost to the HIV/AIDS crisis? An epidemic that decimated our community, especially Black queer men at the height of their creativity. This is not just history, this is now. With global HIV/AIDS relief and domestic healthcare programs facing devastating cuts, alongside an advancing dark age where anti-gay conversion therapy is returning around the country and LGBT and reproductive rights are rolled back, we are once again at risk of losing a generation of voices, of creativity, of leadership, of joy. That's why this book exists, to honor, to question, to uplift, to remember. Rainbow Soul is divided into 3 interconnected parts. Part 1, the sound, Black queer music as lineage. This section explores the evolution of Black queer expression through music. We'll revisit cultural trailblazers like Ma Rainey, Little Richard, and Sylvester, not as footnotes in someone else's history, but as the architects of a genre-bending, gender-bending legacy. This isn't about outing artists for the sake of gossip. It's about reclaiming what's ours. It's about giving flowers to those who bloom despite the odds. The more I research, the more I realize that one of the greatest costs of oppression is historical amnesia. Every generation of Black queer people is forced to rediscover itself from scratch. We are taught the names of Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and Harvey Milk, but many of us never learn the names of the Black queer artists, organizers, musicians, and dreamers who helped shape the culture we inherited. As an activist, I have also come to see how exhausting it is to believe you must always be the first Black this, the first gay that, the first queer person to accomplish something, the first. There's a loneliness in that pursuit, but there's power in understanding that you are not the first. You are the latest installment of greatness. That realization changed how I understood my own life. This book is for the young Black queer artists looking for proof that they belong. It is for the activists carrying too much weight on their shoulders. It is for the church kid trying to reconcile faith and identity. It is for the elder who remembers these names and wonders whether anyone else will. It's for the curious outsider who wants to understand how a community so often pushed to the margins helps shape the center of American culture. Most of all, it is for the record, because history is fragile, because memory is political, because culture disappears when nobody bothers to write it down, and because Black queer people have contributed far too much to the story of America to remain footnotes in someone else's narrative. Rainbow Soul is my attempt to preserve a lineage. Part 2, the soul, a story of resilience. This is where I get personal. Through memoir, I'll walk you through the contradictions of my own life. Faith and fear, triumph and trauma, belonging and isolation. From surviving child abuse to living through the impact of losing a loved one to the epidemic of unsolved missing Black people. You'll meet the child who disappeared into his headphones and the teen who spit rhymes to survive. Part 3, the city, building what holds us. The final chapters turn towards possibility. What does it mean to be a visionary from a marginalized community? How do we improve on the survival tactic of our Black queer musical ancestors to create structures that protect our joy, our art, and our mental health? I share lessons from my work with Icon City Entertainment and the many cultural spaces we've built or reinforced, not as a rigid prescription, but as my lived experience pursuing passion-powered productivity. This section is for the dreamers, the disruptors, the ones who know that liberation must be lived out loud. Rainbow Soul isn't a linear story. It's an open journey meant to be entered from whatever door feels right. If you start with part 1, Black queer music as lineage, maybe it's because you're looking to remember where your rhythm comes from. Our ancestors in audacity who remind us that freedom has always had a beat. If you begin with part 2, a story of resilience, this is where I lay my scars on the page in the hope that something in my story sparks your own healing or reminds you of the strength you already carry. And if you're drawn to part 3, building what holds us, it's probably because you're ready to construct something new, something rooted in purpose, community, and joy. However you move through it, don't worry about the order. Skip around, circle back, let it meet you where you are. This isn't just a book, it's a companion for anyone finding their rhythm, reclaiming their voice, or daring to imagine a world that makes room for both. As I like to say often, it's on you to like it. Simply put, this book is an exploration of inheritance, not simply what is passed through blood, but what is transmitted through music, memory, chosen family, and example. I inherited survival technologies from people who learned how to create life under pressure, how to make joy without waiting for ideal conditions, how to turn pain into performance, how to form a family where biology proved insufficient, and how to anchor ambition in something larger than recognition. Some of those lessons came through the experiences I survived. More of them came from the people who showed me what survival could become. My chosen family and the ancestors I claimed through audacity, purpose, and passion taught me that joy is not separate from survival. Joy is one of the ways we survive without surrendering ourselves. Their lives helped shape what I have come to call passion-powered productivity. The disciplined pursuit of meaningful work sustained not only by pressure or necessity, but by love, creativity, purpose, and the belief that what we build shall help more than one person endure. So yes, I tell my story alongside the stories of legends because our legacies are not in conflict. They are in harmony. And this book, this is me writing us all into the song. Welcome to Rainbow Soul.